Hey guys, welcome to the review show. My name's Austin. Babylon stars Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and Diego Calva. Decadence, depravity, and outrageous leads to the rise and fall of several dreamers in 1920s Hollywood. I was reminded of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Margot Robbie. Very two sort of similar movies where they have the message of like, younger people are coming in, and so they're doing way better than the oldies, and so now the oldies are kind of like sort of being overtaken by the youngies, and so now they have no jobs, and everyone thinks of them as a joke now whenever they're trying to do any new acting, and so they kind of have that similarities to one another because they're in that era of where things are sort of changing, though, where movies are changing. So, like for example, in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that they're sort of doing more bigger action type of movies, and so they're leading. So instead of like the drama and like the westerns that all of them they were doing, they're sort of moving towards the bigger stuff, like the bigger productions. And here is that so silent film is like kind of being wiped out, and now sound films are kind of taken over. And so you have like all these old actors that used to didn't have to speak their lines, now they have to figure out how to actually vocalize their lines and put some emotion in their acting, than just sort of be there on the screen and act it out instead of saying what they need to say, instead of words popping out. So that they have similarities, and they also have their big differences. One big difference is that the three main characters actually hang out with one another on the big screen than just Brad Pitt and DiCaprio, like in Hollywood, where they never really meet Margot Robbie's character. And that's mostly because those two characters were made up, and her character was an actual person. So they kind of kept it in the history of it, but also changing the history of it. But sort of Margot Robbie's character had nothing to do in that movie, and it's kind of verse flopped in this one, where Brad Pitt's character had kind of no point in the movie. Well, he had a point, but he had less screen time than like Margot Robbie's character in Once Upon a Time, and so it's more, this movie is mostly Margot Robbie's and Diego Calva's movie. They kind of sort of have a romance together. It's kind of like that high school thing where they don't really, or the guy just like doesn't really know how to tell her how he feels. Definitely not relating in any form. And so and we have Margot Robbie, which is a new sort of young actress who doesn't really have any acting performances. Just happens to be told to go, hey, we need you for a film, come on set. And she does one scene, and a director likes her, and she becomes famous. And so the same thing comes with Diego's character, where Brad Pitt sort of takes him under his wing, kind of teaches him, and gets more of the behind the scenes type of stuff, and is sort of working his way up to becoming like more of a bigger person in the Hollywood eyes. And next we have, and Brad Pitt's character sort of just kind of like dying off because no one's really going to see his movies. Because they don't really like his acting, which Brad Pitt really performs that very well. He kind of just sort of taken over the role of Leonardo's character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but kind of took it in a more darker way, and so it was very interesting. And there was a lot of hints of throughout the movie what was going to happen, and it's like, wow, that is really dark. And so but yeah, I don't like that's really like, I really like this movie, but at the same time there's a lot of stuff that happens in the movie where I'm like, that okay, why is this in the movie? Why do we need to do this? Because sort of Margot Robbie's character has like a gambling addiction, and so that's sort of set up at the end at the movie, and it kind of becomes like the third act of the movie. I'm like, just in. We basically set up everyone's characters already, and they're kind of like in that one place where this is a perfect way to end it. But no, it kept going, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel that drag of the movie, because this movie is like 3 hours long. I saw 2 3-hour movies. I saw Avatar and I saw this. this is ridiculous. I enjoy the movie, but there is points in the movie where it drags, and I'm like, and it kind of loses that feeling of Once Upon a Time has, where Once Upon a Time had the buddies of, you know, feeling of the movie where, you know, Brad Pitt and DiCaprio always, you know, spending time with one another, and like, you know, and you feel that bond. These three characters are sort of like on their own, and like it's like three individual movies, and but then they sort of come back together every once in a while, but you don't feel that chemistry like, you know, in Once Upon a Time. So I kind of really like Once Upon a Time more, but this one takes itself like all like this is like bad shit crazy. Like there's a lot of shit that happens in this movie for like the ending of Once Upon a Time had. And so basically if you take one like that final segment of Once Upon a Time and just stretch that out, that's basically this whole entire movie, which I do like. But at some point in the movie, I'm like, okay, it's starting to, like, I get it, I know, you're having fun, that's awesome, but please end! Like, so, like, it's just like, I like it where it's just like, okay, we had this movie in Once Upon a Time, and we told our characters, let's just have a little fun at the end. That's what made the movie good. And so, over here, I'm not saying that this movie is bad, it's just, it got tiring. It really got tiring after a while. Especially when I saw it at 10:20 at night. Then you get home till like 2 a.m. in the morning after an 8-hour shift. Started having a headache. So it was overall, I'm not blaming my, you know, my life for the movie for being, you know, sort of degrading, but you do feel it, and I would have felt it either way. I would recommend it if you're more in the behind the film type of side of it. If you're like really into like Hollywood, like the Hollywood, and hearing the story of Hollywood and seeing how films are made, especially in this time of era when sound is like being first integrated into films, then go check it out. I think you're gonna really enjoy it, especially if you're all for batshit craziness throughout the whole entire movie. This is gonna be yours. But overall, I think it really sort of, you know, it's not my favorite movie of the year, that's for sure. I'm gonna give Babylon a B+. Really, I did enjoy it, but overall, there's certain points in the movie I'm like, this could be cut out. This doesn't. This is stupid. Okay, all right, sure, yeah, fine, whatever. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. If you have seen it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like always, I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.